Hey guys, I'm Rocco. Today I'm bringing you a defending tutorial. Now, I know a lot of you are struggling with defending this year. So what I've done is, I'm on my RTG account. I've played my first 5 FUT Champs games. We have in fact won all 5 games. So I've recorded all the footage separately. I'm then going to bring you that footage, all of the highlights of me defending, in with post communications so that you guys can see, and I'll explain to you, what I've done in each defending situation. I'm also going to bring you all of the goals in which I conceded and why that was. Was I out of position? Did I make a bad challenge? Was it just a good goal? And things like that. So I'll bring you all the goals I conceded in those 5 games first. That's what's going to come as soon as this intro is finished. I'm going to show you the 5 goals which I conceded. Then I'm going to go in and explain to you the best methods to defend this year with some footage in the background. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you an example of each of the methods or points or tips or whatever you want to call it that I have used in each situation. So I can show you like a real game situation of me using this defending tactic. So without further ado, we're going to head into the 5 goals which I conceded. I don't know if it is 5, the goals in the 5 games which I conceded, and I will talk you through why I conceded them, what was wrong, and everything like that. So let's head straight into the conceded goals. So in the first goal, I give the ball away with Bakayoko badly. I then push with Manolas, which is the right thing to do, switch to Koulibaly, and then it does in fact bounce off Aguero, and then he runs through and squares the ball. I do the best I can to kind of slide and stop it, but there was nothing I could do. I feel like my defending here wasn't actually bad defending. Into the second game we go then, and this goal, I just feel like Lucas kind of just flew through Manolas. So I don't really feel like this was bad defending. I kind of dropped off using my sprint jockey and covered it, but then he's just ran through the player and scored. So there's not much I could do. When it comes to the second goal, I was sort of 6-1 up in the game. I wasn't really paying attention at this point. I gave the ball away a few times. In game 3, our opponent rage quit after a fantastic finish by Salah, so no goals conceded there. Into game 4 then, and it was a really scrappy goal. I mean, we were kind of a little bit out of position. He's played the shot to try and get the rebound. It's then bounced off. We've tried to clear the ball. It was too scrappy, and then he did score. Not much we could have done defensively, really. And then we have come and then won the game 2-1, so 1 goal conceded. Into the final game then, and this one was a bit tough because of the high line that we're playing. We've won the ball with the fullback, but it has bounced straight back to them, which has left us really open down the left. I've done the best I can to try and prevent this goal. I've chased him down with Manolas, but they've got pace down the wing. I've even then tried to slide to stop the sweaty across, and they've still managed to get away with it. Okay, into the main part of the video. Now, as you can see in the background now, these are situations where I've been defending throughout the 5 games, where I've won the ball back, where I've made good challenges, and where I've basically prevented my opponent from scoring. Now, I want to talk to you about the defending methods. Okay, now number 1 is going to be attacking with your centre-backs. Now, what I mean by that is, when the ball's played from your opponent's midfield to their strikers, you attack that striker with your centre-back. Now, it's very effective. You want to be. This is why I play pressure and heavy touch. So then my centre back will come behind the attacker, and 9 times out of 10 they actually end up winning the ball. If they do in fact get turned, that's when you switch to your other defender, and we'll move on to the next point. The second point is your player switching. Now, your player switching between your 2 centre backs is so important. You need to be very fast in flicking between your 2 centre backs. If you're pushing with one in a defensive way and they get turned, you then need to flick to your other centre back and then either cover the space or attack that striker with your other centre back. Now, point number 3 is covering with your fullbacks. So if you are out of position with the centre midfielder, your fullback will come across either from the right back position or from the left back position, and they will then cover and then tackle and then win the ball in that situation. Point number 4 is switching player and then pretending to make a run. So pretending to chase the attacker one way, and then you switch to another one. At this point, the attacker will then decide to change direction and move into the space you've left available, and then you can then win the ball that way. You're kind of trying to confuse them. It's all about trying to interpret what your opponent is going to do. Point number 5 is forcing your opponent to make decisions. So pushing them or player switching and forcing them to either make a decision to pass, a decision to run, and then you can interpret that and then tackle them in that situation. The same comes with this as making your opponent panic. So forcing them to make a decision, but also making them panic at the same time is really effective. And like I said before, alternating between the two centre backs and your fullbacks can be really effective because it does force them to make this decision. Now we're going to go through these in a bit more detail with some specific highlights below. So, point number 1, attacking with your centre backs. Now, as you'll see in the clips below, these situations are very specific. So your opponent will be pushing the ball towards their striker, and then I'll just take control of my centre back, my full backs, and then I will literally just push them. And then because of their heavy touch, or if they don't know how to make a pass, they panic. This is where I will just pick up the ball. As you can see in the examples below, I pick up the ball every time, and it's very effective. So point number 1 is making that attacking move with your centre backs. Now, point number 2 is your player switching. Now, as you'll see in the examples below, this is where I push with the centre back and then I get turned, or he passes the ball out wide or something, and I have to switch to another player quickly to then make the interception or the tackle. Now, this is really important that you sort out your right stick switching and also your L1 switching as well, because if you switch to the wrong player, this can really put you in a dodgy situation and your centre backs or your full backs will move out of position. And then this will allow your opponent to push through. So make sure you practice your player switching, and then you use that second player to then intercept the ball or to make the tackle when you couldn't make it with the original player. Point number 3 is covering with your fullbacks. Now, as you'll see below, I am switching to my fullbacks when my centre-backs are out of position, and they are then covering the space, or they are then making the tackles and interceptions that I should have made originally with my fullbacks, with my centre-back, sorry. This then gives you an extra defensive option, and it can give you more space, and then you've got a lot more players helping you defensively. Obviously, last year it was very much reliant on the CDMs making a lot of defensive challenges, whereas this year it's very difficult to get your CDMs involved, because if you stay hold of one player too long, then your opponent will just pace through them, and then you are left vulnerable at the back. So make sure you switch to your fullbacks and use them to help you cover defensively. Point number 4 then, pretending to make runs and kind of interpreting your opponent's decision. So this is where you will play a switch and you can then kind of confuse your opponent. So as you will see, I swap and then try and make a run, and then my opponent will then change direction or try and pass in a different place, and then I will cover that. So I'm thinking one step ahead of my opponent. So that's the best thing to do, is to try and, like, if your opponent's running up the line, use your fullback to run up the line, and then your opponent, okay, thinks, well, I'll cut inside now. And then you flick to your centre back or you flick to your other player, and then you cover the turn they make or the skill move they use. So this can be really effective. So you really have to interpret what your opponent does as often as you can. And finally, forcing your opponent to make a decision, pressing them, getting them under pressure and forcing them to make a specific pass or make a specific skill move or make a run. Now, this can be really effective. If you cover angles, they only have one place to go. If you cover the inside track, they have to go wide. And this is where, if you've interpreted what they're doing from the last point, you can then cut off where they're going to run to, or you can even give them the space to shoot if it's at a random angle that they're not going to score. Now, this can be extremely effective, and I've forced a lot of players to do things that they technically don't want to do, whether that's going backwards or whether that's going up the line, and it can really, cut down their attack and really break it down quickly, rather than them having the advantage over you. So these are the 5 points that I consider to be the most important when defending this year. Now, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. These are sort of my top 5 tips with all the clips from below as you can see how I've used them and how I've interpreted them into my game. If you do have any questions, you can always come over to my Twitch channel at www.twitch.tv/rockos11. You can ask me any questions you have in the comment section down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, come over to my Twitch stream, ask me any questions. I'll be streaming all my games live today from 5 p.m. So make sure you're there for that. And you can ask me any questions there. Or if you haven't already, make sure you sub to the YouTube channel and hit the bell notification as well. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching the video.